Good evening, stock traders, and welcome to Stock Traders Talk Radio here on a beautiful Tuesday night, May 22nd, 2012. I am your host, STT. Joining me on tonight's program, I have Stock Sumo.
Good evening, sir. Always a pleasure to be in your presence.
It's good to have you back on the show, sir. Also joining us on the program tonight is Mr. Kopp.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
I'm good, sir. How about yourself?
Doing great. Doing absolutely awesome.
Okay, are we ready to continue our show from last night?
We are.
We had what, hour and 25-minute show last night, and we had to go with part two. Part two is always exciting. So let's not make the listeners wait too long and jump right into it. Mr. Kopp, why don't you take it away, sir?
All right, thanks, Mike. We're here with Mr. Mark Neubauer, the president and CEO of MIKP Productions, Inc., stock ticker MIKP. Those of you that listened last night would know that we went extensively into the past of Mr. Neubauer's background with different companies and those from that aspect, as well as with MIKP Productions. And now we're going to go into current ops and future operations on what's going on with his company. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime. Last night was a long one. I anticipate this one probably not going as long, but covering a lot of pertinent information.
I'll answer any and all questions, and I promise to be a little more brief with my responses.
No problem. You told me prior to the show that you, before I started asking you some questions, that you wanted to give away some exclusive information, I guess?
I would like that. I really thank you guys for the opportunity, and I would like to share some pretty big news with people based on emails and calls we've received and some of the feedback from the show as well. I did some pretty hard thinking. You asked me a question last night. You asked if we were willing to reduce the authorized shares in the company back to the current outstanding. And first thing this morning, I got up, I filed an amendment with the state of Wyoming, and we have mailed that in. So I would say, depending on their workflow, by the end of next week, we shall have effected a reduced authorized count down to the exact outstanding shares, which is 2,586,683,347 shares as our authorized share count.
Excellent. That's pretty quick. I think a lot of shareholders are going to be very happy about hearing that information. Huge. Absolutely. First thing this morning, that's what you did?
Well, I did brush my teeth and take a shower. But first thing, active duty in the office, I filed with the state of Wyoming, and it felt really good to do that. I thank you for posing the question and all the shareholders who posed it before you, and it's the right thing to do moving forward. I think we're going to make some big changes, some big positive changes on the market side in line with our plans and accomplishments in the operation.
That's excellent. Job well done. Excellent. And what was the second thing you had?
Well, the second thing, we're seeking reinstatement for DTC eligibility, and I know that's a big concern for many. There are a lot of people that belong to Ameritrade and whatnot would like to trade our stock and hopefully invest for the long term but can't. Thankfully, through E-Trade and some others, you can. But we'd like to remedy this with DTC. I feel that they probably took action against quite a few companies, maybe without fair review process. And, of course, a few months later, SEC came out and opined that yes, maybe they weren't putting everyone under fair review and they should adopt fair review procedures. So we reached out to the DTC and requested that we be subject to fair review procedures. And they did finally respond via hard copy letter. That was an email exchange prior to. And not easy to corral them, but we did. They've been very responsive. I do have to say that. They sent us a letter. They told us what we need to do, and our attorney is responding to them by the end of the month as they requested with the necessary materials. I don't know how they're going to assess those materials once they send them, but we do have solid legal opinions supporting our transactions over the last year and a half that they did have question on, and I believe that it's a full step forward to remedying the situation.
Excellent. That's always the one of those tough things to battle through, but you just got to keep battling and then do the right things and figure that out. That's a good, very, very good. And you said you had a third thing earlier.
The third thing is we've been getting a lot of questions, of course, and they're welcome and appreciated, but questions on Whitespace. I know people realize it's a pretty big project. It's a sci-fi thriller, and it was a very ambitious undertaking for us, and one that I feel will work out to our favor in a very big way. That said, we have a website, we've got production stills, we have behind-the-scenes pictures, and we've got a great Facebook page. But I think if shareholders and prospective shareholders were able to see, hear, and feel a piece of that movie with their own eyes and ears, they would really understand the magnitude of this project and be proud to be a part of it. So as an exclusive only, this will most likely not be shown again, but as an exclusive only to StockTradersTalk.com, and thanks to you guys for giving me the floor and giving the company the floor and this opportunity, I would like to show a clip that has been color timed and cut from the film with temp sound and temp score to show shareholders so they can get a feel for this. It's a pretty great clip, and if I can, I'll set it up for a few seconds when you're ready. In addition, at some point in the show, if there's time, I'd also love to show people the trailer for Captain Battle, which has been released. We have some good announcements to make on the St. James side. One of them is the fact that Ted is actively marketing the project along with Agent Beetle at the Cannes Film Market, March to Film in France this very week. So some really exciting stuff happening in the company. It's pretty cool.
Excellent. All right, Mike, what do you think? Let's go ahead and see if we can go ahead and play this.
Okay. Do you mind if I set it up real quick?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Before you play this, I just want to make sure that it is understood that this is copyrighted material, and the FBI anti-piracy warning does apply. So I'm just going to disclaim the warning: the unauthorized reproduction or distribution of this copyrighted work is illegal. Criminal copyright infringement, including infringement without monetary gain, is investigated by the FBI and is punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison and a fine of $250,000. So bottom line, this is it. This is exclusive, and those that were kind enough to show are going to see the scene. And the scene, really quickly, we're on the Essex. It's a ship with about 7 crew members, blue-collar crew, up in space. Their job is to harvest materials in outer space to bring back to Earth, natural resources, and basically the equivalent of our fisheries down on Earth. And they're bringing these creatures that can be used for their meat and oil back to Earth. And in this scene, they are hijacked by a group of pirates, for lack of a better term, space pirates, that take them for everything they've got. And their onboard conservationist turns out to be someone very different than she presented herself as. So that's the setup for this clip.
All right.
Quickly,
Thank you. Yeah, we're really pleased with that clip. That clip is reserved exclusively for buyers that contact us in hopes to revisit with us with a finished film. So it's been utilized with a handful of companies that we see fit for the film, and we've received nothing but rave reviews on it. The production value's there, the talent's there. I mean, Holt McCallany, who plays the lead there, has been cast in Warner Brothers' Gangster Squad alongside Ryan Gosling and Sean Penn. He's co-lead in a series coming out this fall with CBS. So I think, albeit having some delays in post-production, time is on our side on this one due to the fact that Holt's star is rising in a very big way. and that goes a long way. I mean, effects-driven sci-fi is already huge as is, but now you can add a star whose bankability is improving with each day that passes, and we're looking at a really nice combo. So I'm really pleased with it, and thank you guys for showing it.
Oh, no, thanks for releasing it exclusive on Stock Traders Talk Radio. I'm not even going to pretend to be smart about the film industry. I mean, so, but from a stock perspective, okay, say I'm a shareholder in your company. What does this mean from a revenue standpoint for you?
Well, I don't want to pretend I know anything about it either. No, it's a very speculative industry. So I want to give that disclaimer first and foremost, because a lot of producers will rattle off numbers like it's their job, and for some of them it is. But the fact is, in terms of revenues for Mike the Pike, this can have a very big impact on us, even on the conservative side of things. I would say in terms of gross sales on Whitespace, we're looking at probably an upfront buy from domestic and foreign of anywhere between $5 and $10 million, and thereafter you have revenue splits on VOD, DVD, theatrical possibly. Distributors feel it's appropriate. I think we're looking at anywhere from, again, $5 million on the low side, all the way up to maybe, $40-50 million. And again, that's on the positive side, but it's very possible with a film like this. It's effects-driven sci-fi, and there's a big thirst out there for it.
Sure. Talk about Hope for a minute. I'm not very familiar with who that is.
Holt McCallany? Is that who you're referring to, the star?
Yes. Well,
typically, what I must say first and foremost is that sci-fi films don't need a cast, per se. You even look at Prometheus, which is the prequel to Alien coming out. That's another thing working in our favor, by the way. The release of movies like Prometheus signify the comeback of the dark sci-fi movie that were so popular in the 70s and 80s. And that's kind of the films that, like The Abyss, like Alien, et cetera, those are the kinds of films that Whitespace was modeled after. So we're really pleased to see all this hype for a movie like Prometheus on the larger side of things. So cast is not so important when it comes to the genre. That's why St. James Films, our other business model, is so successful. Genre films sell, and Whitespace is the epitome. I mean, it's very high concept film. It's outer space. There are creatures. There are explosions. There are space pirates. There's mutiny. It's a very exciting film. So that said, we put our money and resources into effects to make the most of that from a producer's point of view. We happen to have cast a very talented group of actors, one of which, as you asked, the lead, Holt McCallany. Holt was the star of Lights Out, which was a series. It was actually a short-lived series on TNT, and people were disappointed it got canceled. I think it only lasted about 6 months, but the one thing that reviewers couldn't get enough of was Holt and his performance, and they're like, whoa, this guy is a knockout, pun intended. And sure enough, when we spoke with his manager and cast Holt, he really got Holt's star quality across. We looked at Holt's reel, we looked at his background, and the guy's amazing. So he was cast as Captain Richard Bentley, the captain of the ship, and working with the guy was just amazing. Even though we provided breakfast on set, he'd buy out this old lady's tamale truck every morning and deliver tamales to the crew. I mean, the guy was just amazing. But in terms of bankability, again, Holt, I believe, was cast in 3 major studio feature films shortly after we hired him for Whitespace, one of which is Gangster Squad, coming out from Warner Brothers this year or next. And it's an all-star cast. I mean, it's Nick Nolte, Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, Sean Penn, Holt McCallany, and a couple of others. And after the casting there, I forget the name of the show. I should know this, but I did just post it on our Whitespace Facebook page, so you can check that out. But Holt has also been cast as a co-lead on a CBS police drama coming out this fall, which is one of their 10 big bets this year for a successful lineup. So it's good to see success come to good people like Holt, and it's great to see somebody like Holt attached to our cast.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, you got a win-win all over the place. I mean, this is potentially a very huge revenue stream for you. I mean, no doubt about it. Let's.
Can I give you a case example? I know.
Sure.
But I think this is important for shareholders. We mentioned it in the press release, but a film that's very much like Whitespace, only what I think we have on this film is quality of story. The film was not the best in my opinion, but each to their own. But there was a movie called Skyline that came out in 2010, and Skyline was they had now with Holt, our cast is even bigger than Skyline at this point, but they had a similar cast scenario and a similar scenario in which it was an effects-driven sci-fi film. Let's not worry about cast, and quite frankly, I don't know if they even worried too much about story, but they put it together and it looked great. It looked great. The effects were there, and effects are what sells. People want to believe it. They want to see LA explode or be invaded by aliens. They want outer space, They want to see these things and really feel it. And Skyline was actually made by a visual effects studio. It was a lot of VFX guys, these guys sitting in a dark room in front of their computers saying, why are we doing millions of dollars of work, for studios when we know it costs pennies on the dollar? Why don't we make our own film? So they made Skyline. And Sony bought the film for $10 million. I believe you should go to boxofficemojo.com. That's a great site, by the way. If you ever want to look up comparative figures, it's boxofficemojo.com. You can look up box office and DVD revenue information on just about any film. And I believe Skyline, I know it made over $40 million, $50 million. And when you look it up on IMDb, you'll see it didn't have a cast. When you watch the movie, it's not even the best movie in the world, but it looks great. The effects are there. And again, what we have on them with Whitespace is an amazing script by Clay McLeod Chapman, story by my buddy and producing partner Ryan Colucci, very talented writer and producer. And I just think we have a major win here. Skyline 2 is currently in production, and Sony Pictures is eating that up. I mean, that's the success of that one. So I think it's a pretty good production scenario to compare Whitespace to if people who don't understand the industry need a comparison. Very realistic comparison.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to add regarding Whitespace?
At risk of over-talking things, not particularly. Very excited about it. And another thing, I know people are looking for a timeline, definitive timeline. Unfortunately, there are no definitive timelines in the film industry. Again, I'm being extremely conservative here. However, our goal, our realistic goal, and I think this is going to be a big win for everybody, especially with what's going on in the industry in terms of genre films and what's going on in Holt's career. We plan to have Whitespace prepared for sale by or before, or on or before this year's AFM, American Film Market 2012, which takes place the last couple days of October, first week of November. I hope for shareholders that, in addition to some of the collateral that we may be able to release as we did tonight exclusively on Stock Traders Talk Radio, a trailer or other things like that along the way. But I just ask that everybody be patient. Go through the website, look at those pictures, go to Box Office Mojo, look at production scenarios like Skyline. Call me for any due diligence that you may need to do on the industry or the film itself and its place in the industry. And in the meantime, just be patient, because it's like Christmas for us too. This thing has wrapped the bow on it, and we can't wait to open it either. But we've got to make it the best possible sales scenario that we can. And that's with any film. I mean, Avatar took 10 years to make, so thankfully we're not making Avatar here. I I'm really excited about it, and I think everybody else should be too. And I think if I had to throw out a timeline, that's one that we as producers are planning to meet and planning aggressively so.
Is Whitespace a game changer for you?
It is very, very much in a lot of ways. I think, forward looking, it definitely is. It's a major feature film, and I think what shareholders should consider, as I did myself in taking this on, okay, Whitespace makes millions of dollars. We get some awesome revenue from it, and that's great. That's the near-term goal with Whitespace. However, what does it mean in this industry to produce a multi-million-dollar sci-fi thriller with quality cast? It's astounding. These are the kind of projects that will have hedge funds coming to you, that will have venture funds coming to you and saying, hey, we've got $100 million. We want to get involved in the film industry. These are the types of films that accomplish those kinds of scenarios. And so am I excited about revenues? Definitely. I'm sure that's what is on the forefront of everybody's mind. But more so for me as a producer and for me as the CEO of a movie studio, of a production company, and we as producers have discussed this amongst ourselves, this is a game changer, Chris, because this is the kind of movie that grabs the industry's attention. This is the kind of movie that gets studios looking at you and saying, wow, they're not just cranking out widgets. They're not just cranking out, crap for crap. These guys have taken finance and art and successfully blended, and these guys know how to entertain an audience and make an audience believe they're in outer space and ... And that's what I'm the most excited about, quite frankly. So it's a big game changer. Oh, go ahead.
That's interesting. So it's a catalyst as well. I mean, it could be exponential growth for your company.
It's a major catalyst, Chris. Absolutely. Once that film is completed and picked up by a distributor, and again, we have so many great things working underneath us in St. James Films and Ted Chalmers' relationships with buyers worldwide. I mean, everything is coming together in such a great way here. So I'm very excited, and absolutely this is a game changer. That's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Gotcha. All right, let's shift gears and let's talk about St. James. What do you have going on in St. James?
We have a lot going on in St. James. In fact, so much going on in St. James that it's hard for me to keep up with updates. I mean, it's amazing. As you know, and again, this is another way that a film like Whitespace is a game changer. I met Ted Chalmers, who is the head of Tomcat Films. That's TomcatFilmsLLC.com. Ted is the founder of Tomcat Films. He's a worldwide sales agent and distributor, and has been in the industry for years. Was instrumental in the distribution of films like Escape from New York, Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. And the interesting thing about Tomcat Films is Tomcat Films has never not made money on a film. They've never lost money on a film. That's pretty great. So when I went to AFM in November, I met with Ted, and Ted was really fond of Whitespace. And we began talking and getting to know each other, and then he got to know Mike the Pike and the company from the website, and we actually kept up active discussions after AFM, and one thing led to another, and we agreed that Mike the Pike would acquire St. James Films so that Ted could focus solely on his aspirations as a sales distribution company with Tomcat, and move all of the production endeavors into a company like St. James, partnering with us on the production side, with our knowledge, experience, and resources. So it's been just an incredible partnership so far. It's very much a win-win. You couldn't even try to think of it as anything but a big win-win. And Ted is such a great guy. He's been very generous with time and education and resources. And to more directly answer your question, what we're doing is we are exercising a business model in which we turn out a large number of micro-budget, low-budget films per year, and we just keep feeding the machine. We come out with highly entertaining genre pictures geared toward worldwide markets, and these films do sell in worldwide markets. We have contracts with Germany, with Singapore, with Malaysia, with Latin America. We actually have an exciting announcement relationship with a Latin American buyer to make in the very near future. And actively, Ted is representing St. James Films at the Cannes Film Market, March to Film. This is the most important event in the industry, as you'll see on the Cannes Film Market's website. That, too, is not an opinion, that's a fact. It's the most important event in the entertainment industry, period. And we are there being represented by Tomcat Films as our sales agent. And we're making sales actively on 2 films that we shot earlier this year in accordance to our promise of no less than 5 feature films this year. Captain Battle, Legacy War, which is a high-genre superhero movie based on the comic book Captain Battle. And we've got Agent Beetle, which falls under the category that we know of in the film industry as mockbusters. Basically, you have I'll use an extreme version. A mockbuster is like, these are literally titles. There's The Incredible Hulk. So a mockbuster film that Tomcat produced successfully was called The Incredible Bulk, and it was this big, strong purple guy, and he caused, mass havoc wherever he went. And these films sell very well, and they always make a profit. They're all under $1 million, and they sell like hotcakes to foreign markets. So my goal and Ted's goal with St. James Films is to utilize it as that driving force, that engine, that foundation for some of the more ambitious projects. And so just as much as we're making films, highly entertaining genre pieces for worldwide markets, we're also making widgets here. I mean, these are profitable projects that will allow us to self-sustain with revenues. And it was so refreshing. It's such a breath of fresh air because we now have active revenues, active sales we accompany with, and that goes right in line with our commitment to shareholders to roll back those authorized shares and really make things happen this year, along with some other things we'll make in line with, operational advice that you've had. I think it's spot on. We need to do it, and I can't wait to do it.
Awesome. Talk to me about the industry a little bit. I mean, the market that or the niche that you're attacking, if you will. I mean, how big is this?
With St. James Film?
Sure.
I mean, because the movie industry is for everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There is no one that isn't affected by the film industry in one way or another, whether they get caught up in an ancillary conversation or whether they're, a cinephile and they're deeply affected and moved by a movie that can sometimes change people's lives. I mean, movies are, in my opinion, if I get philosophical for just 5 seconds, this is like when the Native Americans would sit around and they would tell stories. That's how they got messages across. It's how they entertained. They were very useful in many different ways. And this is just our version of campfire stories. This is how we relate to one another and express ourselves and express different situations and ideas. And it's a beautiful, beautiful business because when you can, take the art of film and you mix it with the finance of film, it's a perfect match. But maybe you're just going for the art, maybe you're just going for the money, and that's really clear. It's a big win either way. And when you can match them both, it's perfection. So, or near so. You never have perfection, but near so. So on that level, who are we reaching with Mike the Pike? It's anybody and everybody. I mean, Whitespace is going to cater rather to a large audience. Sci-fi fans are one of the biggest, most loyal fan bases out there, which is why it was a good place to start. And you've got George Martin's The Skit Trade, which maybe we'll talk about. That's up to you guys. That's also one I'm really thrilled with. That's George Martin. Guy's got a huge fan base. It's werewolves, supernatural, very exciting stuff. That's going to cater to a large fan base. But we've got comedies, we've got family movies, we've got horror movies. So I don't think there's anybody out there that we're not going to affect the market to, depending on the project. And for business purposes, we will most likely avoid projects that are, pet projects or passion projects or art house films for the sake of that. That's fine when you're an independent producer and that's what you're kind of creating, makes your mark, and hopefully you can make something thereafter. But as a business model, those are not the kinds of films that, we can afford to take on in order to grow this as a business and a real long-term business. But we can put out some pretty great stuff.
Excellent. So I understand the movie concept, and I understand your direction in a couple of these different revenue-producing streams that you have here. What are your longer-term goals? Let's talk about a year or two. Where do you see Mike the Pike Industries?
I see Mike the Pike with, 2 years from now. I mean, again, I feel that Whitespace is going to be a game changer. I feel Skin Trade is going to be, game changer number 2. And both of those fall, within that 2-year realm. So I see us as a little baby just learning how to walk its way into the mini major market. And by mini major, I'm talking about studios like Nala Films, NALAFilms.com. I believe that's their website. You can Google it. We talked about Summit last night, Summit Entertainment. That's, where they were, circa American Psycho. If you go back to, American Psycho days for Summit Entertainment, Focus Features, Myriad Pictures, these are the companies that are considered the mini majors, because the majors are, of course, Paramount, Warner Brothers. I don't want to be a major. The majors are the majors, and that's, you've got to live a life too. But
sure.
I do foresee us being acquired by a major in the future or courted for acquisition in the future. This is nothing I ever want to stop doing. So, you can look at this as more of a Pixar or not a Pixar, but a DreamWorks or even a Pixar, which was, yes, acquired by Disney, but Disney recognizes that Pixar knows what they're doing, and they let Pixar be Pixar. That's another great scenario. So I see us very open to scenarios like that with the continuance of the more ambitious projects like Whitespace and Skin Trade on the Mike the Pike side. And all the while, we've got this amazing company called St. James Films, running all along. You're talking 5, 10, 20 films a year. These are films. I mean, Captain Battle, we shot out in a matter of weeks, and the trailer looks great. We can show the trailer here if you like. We have a trailer for the Cannes film market for Captain Battle Legacy War. And again, these are genre films. They sell very well, and we've got access to some pretty impressive resources. You cannot make, the average filmmaker cannot make the films that St. James makes in the amount of time, for the amount of money, and with the level of resources that is self-contained in St. James Films. You cannot. It's pretty amazing, and I don't, I want people to be able to digest all this, so it'll come out as news comes out on each of the projects and some of the people we're connected to, and the buyers take interest in these projects. I think people are going to really understand that business model more and more, but it definitely works, and I couldn't be more thankful to be a part of it.
Excellent. Mike, do you have that one?
Yes, I do. Let me cue that up.
Well, up real quick, of course. I think it's obvious at this point, but Mike the Pike, St. James, two companies in the same industry, but very different business models. You saw the quality of Whitespace. That's obviously a multi-million-dollar sci-fi film, effects-driven, action, strong character actors. Captain Battle, we've got amazing cast. young talent, up and coming, high genre films, but they are low budgeted, and they cater to audiences that, want more of something. So I saw Captain America. Now what's next? Oh, great. Here's Captain Battle.
Okay. You guys are back up.
All right.
That's pretty good. And what I didn't realize when doing the due diligence, you have a lot of things in the works that are creating revenues for you. And I didn't even talk a lot about Skin Trade. What is Skin Trade about?
Skin Trade is an amazing opportunity, and I talked a little bit about it last night and how it came to fruition, but Skin Trade is a book written by George Martin, and for anybody that, for whatever reason, doesn't know who George R.R. Martin is, he's the author-creator behind HBO's Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is HBO's biggest show ever. It's bigger than The Sopranos. On day one of season 1, they picked it up for 2 additional seasons. So Game of Thrones is good for another couple of years here at the very least. And HBO execs actually came out and said as long as George Martin keeps writing, Game of Thrones will stay on the air. Bold statement. New York Times best-selling author. USA Today named him Author of the Year last year. And Time Magazine named him top 100 most influential people in the world. What more can you say about George R.R. Martin? Well, before Game of Thrones was greenlit by HBO, I just read the book by the guy and loved it. I actually wasn't too familiar with George's work before I got it, but I read it, I loved it, and I said, this is a movie. This is a great movie. It's a werewolf movie, and it's going to be a great werewolf movie. So we optioned the rights to the book, worked with George's managers, and they're just amazing. Vince Gerardis over at Created By, just an amazing company. And talked to George personally. Actually had the pleasure of eating breakfast with George in L.A. when he was on tour for Game of Thrones. That was a real treat. Got to talk with him about the project a little bit. And we are currently in development on the project. My producing partner is Ryan Colucci. Ryan is the founder, owner of Spoke Lane Entertainment, who we also have a graphic novel partnership with. I know people don't talk too much about Little Old Spokefish, but we've got a graphic novel partnership with Spoke Lane. And Ryan is a force to be reckoned with. If you go to harbor-moon.com, it's the werewolf book that Ryan wrote. Type it in here so you guys can see it there. But that's the werewolf graphic novel that Ryan wrote, and that got all kinds of reviews, a bunch of actors, Comic-Con, and for Terra. If you haven't heard of that film, it was actually on the short list for nominations for the Academy Award the year that Battle for Terror was released. And he was a producer on that film. So I'm really lucky to have Ryan as a producing partner and a friend. And the Skin Trade is the project in which Ryan and I were introduced. I was actually, I sought him out based on some stuff I had read, and he said, I'll leave the expletives out, but there were a lot of expletives, and he said, how the F did you write to this? This is my favorite book. Like, this is hands down my favorite book by one of my favorite authors. And since then, we met eye to eye on what we loved about it, some of the things that we thought needed to be changed a little bit to adapt the screen. And currently, Ryan is working on the first draft of the screenplay for the Skin Trade. We expect to be done with the feature script by end of June, and we do already have interest from some pretty heavy hit A-list names in terms of directors and actors very interested in the project, and we'll be out to cast and directors once we're finished with the script by end of next month. And from there, packaging that project, that's a project that we plan to take with us to AFM this year. So we'll be at AFM with quite a few things. We'll have Captain Battle, Agent Beetle, with rights already sold at Cannes. We'll have most likely 2 to 3 more films under the St. James label. We'll have something from Whitespace. We'll have something from the Skin Trade, and all of it looking to be package financed or sold. For the most part, sold. Skin trade's the only thing that would need to be packaged financed. So it's very exciting, and highly recommend you go to the website. It's theskintrademovie.com, and we're pretty crazy with social media. So any project I mention, if you look up the title on Facebook, you'll see it. But theskintrademovie.com will outline the plot summary for you. It's got a great quote directly from George R.R. Martin about Mike the Pike Productions. If that's a testament, if that's not a testament, I don't know what is. But the guy compliments us and the project and wishes us, the best on our endeavors to adapt it on his blog, and we reposted it on our website. So it's great to have support from somebody like George. The guy is one of the most creative people I've ever met. He can create universes like no other author. And he's been really, really awesome to work with. So I cannot wait to bring Skin Trade to fruition.
That's excellent. Well, let's say you had 5 minutes with an investor, the elevator speech, if you will. What would you say to a potential investor or one of your shareholders about where you are and where you're going?
I'd say pretty close to what I just told you, Chris, actually. I'd let them know that we're gearing up to. Well, I will say this. We are looking, per the advice of our partners in St. James, we are looking to slightly rebrand the company as a media holdings company with Mike the Pike St. James and some other exciting pending acquisitions on the plate. But we're not going to grow, too soon, too fast, too big, anything like that. But that is on the long-term plan. So I'd probably mention that to investors. Face value, elevator pitch. I'd like investors to know that we're an up-and-coming mini-major studio, a la Summit Entertainment, Nawa Films, etc. We've got a major effects-driven sci-fi thriller currently in post-production. We've got the rights to a George R.R. Martin World Fantasy Award-winning novella that we're adapting for feature film, and we currently have at that point 3 feature films completed and sold to worldwide territories with strong relationships to worldwide buyers for anything and everything we make. And as an addendum, I'd let them know, any investor, and I remember this from our Fishing a Barrel days and everything else, any investor cares when it comes to film, you have distribution. Like, that's cool that you made a film, but can you get it distributed? And we've got those relationships built into our company. There aren't that many companies, if any, at our level that have the relationships that we have built into the company. Not even a warm contact, built into the company. And that's much thanks to our relationship with Ted Chalmers, who is, yes, the founder, owner of Tomcat Films, but Ted is also, if I didn't clarify before and if people don't understand it from the press releases from the past, Ted Chalmers is the president and COO of St. James Film.
Wow. No, that's impressive stuff, and I definitely think you're making the right moves. And I assume on the operational side of the house that one of your big goals is to work down the debt, create more revenue streams, get more movies out, and keep building upon where you are. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely, and thanks for mentioning that. We are actively working with debt holders right now, aggressively, to over the next month as we move forward. Step one was reducing our authorized to the outstanding, but we will be utilizing a portion of revenues to do share buybacks in addition to what we brought the stock back to. That's part of our plan operationally, and in that we'll also be negotiating with debt holders to knock down the debt consistently month after month. So I think you're going to see some vast improvements on the debt side of things in the company, along with commitments from the company to put its money where its mouth is, not only in terms of the hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and dollars that we're putting into the project, but we'll put it into the company too. I mean, I want as much of this company as I can get personally.
Excellent. Well, Mark, we've covered a lot of information over the course of the last 2 nights. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to address?
There probably is, knowing me, but cannot think of anything. I'd love to do this again as soon as you guys see fit. I thank you for the floor. I thank shareholders for their patience and whatever understanding they can extend for for anything in the past. But this is the now. This is the future. I think anybody involved with MIKP Productions is in for some very positive news, some big surprises and success for the long term. Not just some kind of. I mean, these markets are discussing some of these companies, but I mean a real company, a real long-term growth, real business model, and something that they can actually brag that they were a part of from the early days.
Excellent. Well, Mark, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak to our audience, and also we would like to extend to you that the invitation to come join us on the radio show in the future, especially if you have any major updates or exclusives and major changes going on in the company. That would be incredible. So again, thank you, and we appreciate you being on Stock Traders Talk Radio.
Okay, I thank you guys so much. Thank you for the floor, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
That was Mr. Mark Neubauer, the president and CEO of MIKP Productions, Inc., stock ticker MIKP. Wow, that was two full nights of a lot of stuff there, Mike.
Yes, sir, it was. A lot of good stuff there.
Wow. How about the first thing this morning? He does the AS reduction. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, nothing's going to happen overnight, but as long as he keeps making the appropriate steps to regain shareholder confidence, do the things to build the company, increase revenues, reduce debt. That's what you want. That's the type of company that you want to be invested in. It's the type of business model you want to be associated with, and that's the key to the whole thing.
Excellent. I got a little flustered last night with all the history from some of the other companies. I didn't really understand some of that stuff because I'm not privy to that information. I didn't really know that stuff before, and after hearing tonight's second half, it really put things in perspective, and it really impressed me to see how he really listened to some of those questions that you asked last night and followed through on it today. That AS reduction is huge. That's awesome, and it seems like he's really focused and has every intent on doing the right thing here. From all those past experiences from the other companies that he was involved in previous, he learned all the headaches and all the nightmares, and it sounds like he's dedicated in not letting that happen again here. Sounds like he's devoted to getting that DTC chill off, which will be huge as well. So good stuff.
Yeah, you're right, Sumo, absolutely right. I don't want shareholders to give him a free pass, not in any shape or form. And the pressure needs to remain on, and every investor or every shareholder they currently has, especially if they've been there for a long time, need to force the accountability, need to demand the hard questions being answered, and I really, really think that Mark's going to deliver over the short and mid and long term. That's what it's really about. And if Whitespace really does what it's supposed to do, this company isn't even going to be close to the level that it's going to be now, and that's not far away. I know a lot of people have been probably waiting for Whitespace for a long time and heard tomorrow. But I know this: if it was my company and I was putting a lot of my eggs in that basket, if you will, and that's the catalyst that must propel the company to the next level, you're damn right I'm going to release it at the right time. I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to market the living crap out of it. So, clearly he's where he needs to be with that.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you release the movie, say they finish the movie in 2 weeks, right? You got your two major events, which are the Cannes Festival and the AFM, right? Wouldn't you wait? I'd wait.
Oh, sure, because then you can get top dollar for it, you know.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have tons of people there, you know, looking for new films to put out, and they're going to have millions and millions of dollars, and you know, looking for opportunities to be made in the market.
Absolutely. Now, we're gonna keep the pedal to the metal on Mark for sure, and I think he's gonna shock and impress a lot of people. And those longs that have been there for a while, like I said, hold them accountable, keep pushing the envelope with demanding certain things and follow through, because that's really what it's about. I mean, we can all sit here and talk all day long. It's about follow through and action, about increasing revenues and decreasing debt, and that's what you want.
Well, so when he's ready to come back on, I know I'm going to hold him accountable for everything he went over tonight. I want to make sure that he follows through and executes, because some good things that he was touched upon, and if he does execute on that, then we'll have a whole different make and model here. This thing could get interesting.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. It's gonna be fun to watch for sure. All right, gentlemen, that's pretty much what I got. I mean, that's 2 nights full of Mike the Pike.
Very well done there, Mr. Kopp. I know those are 2 long nights for you, but good information. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. Don't forget to catch the guys in the morning, that's Stock Sumo, Sipakia, and Haas, as they started off at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, right here on the auditorium at Investors Hub. You can also catch us on our live page at StockTradersTalk.com. Tomorrow night we'll be back on the air with a stock spotlight, I believe, for tomorrow night. Change of pace there. Mr. Kopp, you ready for that one tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, I love spotlights. You guys knew that.
I know you do. From all of us here at Stock Traders Talk Radio, to all of you out there in Stock Traders Talk listening land, we're wishing you the best in all your trades, and may your portfolio always be green. This is Stock Traders Talk Radio, and we are out.
Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio. All views and topics talked about on Stock Traders Talk Radio is solely for entertainment purposes. We are not professional financial advisors and always recommend you seek the advice of a professional financial advisor. Never invest in any stock featured on our show unless you can afford to lose your entire investment. The information contained on our show is based on sources which we believe to be reliable, but is not guaranteed by us as being accurate, and might not be a complete statement or summary of the available data. Stock Traders Talk Radio advises that the investments in companies profiled are commonly considered to be high risk, and use of the information provided is at the investor's sole risk. Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio.